episode 45. My name is Dave Hunt. I'm one of your hosts, and I'm joined by Mike.
How is it going? I'm a working man again. It's crazy. I don't know what's going on. I have other things to plan my schedule around, so...
It's been alright. So it's just actually one of my more normal weeks that I've had in a little while. Nothing crazy was really going on. So just a pretty basic week for me. And then with you going back to work, it kind of changed some of the stuff a little bit. Nothing major.
So. At least now I have a schedule. So like, if I do want to stream or something like that, I need to like plan it more out than just getting a whim.
You have to know what day it is now.
Yes.
All right, we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that uploads every Thursday to the podcast services of your choosing. If you listen to us on a service that we're not available on, I don't know how you listen to us, but if you use a service and we're not there, let us know. We can see if we can be there. You can listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, iTunes, all of them. Please, if at all possible, leave a review. Stars and written always help. So even if you just say great podcast, we got a couple more reviews the last week or so. So thank you to you guys that have been doing that. That always helps us move up the chart. And we also live stream the show typically on Monday nights, twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, as well as a variety of other games that we stream during the week. And we are a Twitch affiliate. So therefore you are able to sub to us. If you have Prime Gaming, which is a service through Amazon Prime, you can use a free monthly sub on the streamer of your choice, and if you use it on our channel, that is greatly appreciated, like many of you already have done. As well, it is September for Twitch, which means that Twitch subs are anywhere from like, I think I've seen 20 to 40% off,
something like that,
depending
on what tier you're buying.
So go ahead and check that out if it's something that you've always wanted to maybe support a streamer and you don't have Prime. This is a good time to maybe dip your toe in the water a little bit and see, save a little bit of money, and we still make some money off of it. So all of you that have been doing that is great. All right, you can also follow us on the social medias, Facebook, Twitter. All of those links are in the show notes. And again, like we've mentioned, sharing the show on Facebook, retweeting on Twitter, any of the above options that let more people get their eyes on the show. Those are all things that help the show grow and attract more listeners. We will have some cool stuff later on in the week as well, hitting the podcast feed and the YouTube. So if you're not subscribed to YouTube, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're really close to getting our own URL, so we only need I think 15 or 17 more people to subscribe. So that's always super helpful. So we are going to jump into the news. I'm going to give it over to Michael because I see this first note and I didn't even know this was a thing, but I recognize this guy.
Yes, yeah. So the Vlambeer studio, which is run by Rami Ismail and Jan Nijman, I believe is how you say his name. They are celebrating Vlambeer's 10th year anniversary by breaking up. So the 10th year anniversary for the studio was last week, and they just announced that they're just going to dissolve the studio and go their separate ways, which isn't the most surprising thing, just because they have kind of just been working on and off over the years. They've made quite a few like big indie games, including Nuclear Throne, Ridiculous Fishing, Luftverrausers, which was like a game that was on the Vita. So they I just put this in here because it's just like Vlambeer is like kind of like a memorable indie studio over the last decade or so, because Rami Ismail is a big advocate for indie development. If there's a video game conference, he's usually there speaking, doing some sort of work all over the world. And then the other studio founder has worked on other stuff like Minute and other indie games. So they're finally just calling it quits. The article where they kind of announced that they're quitting or breaking up was interesting, just because they talk about how like they aren't really friends. They just are coworkers in terms of like they work well together, but they never really had a friendship. That makes it sound like there's bad blood, but there isn't. It's just they just had a good working relationship, and they made some cool games, and they're just gonna call it quits. They have one game that just released that's should already be out, I believe, or it's coming soon. And it's coming to like Switch and PC. And yeah, they're doing a sale on Steam celebrating their 10th year anniversary. And it's just like a weird story that sounds like way more dramatic than it is. But I thought it was a cool way to celebrate a 10th anniversary.
Hey, we're 10 years old. We're done.
Yeah. We had a good run, and then it just stopped. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to work together in the future, just because they've been working on other projects at other developers for a while. They just kind of come together every once in a while, make a game, and release it. Does well, so we'll see what the future holds for them. Rami's a big advocate for indie development, so he won't go away. He'll continue to be like a front-facing personality in industry. Any thoughts on this? I know you're not too familiar.
I mean, I didn't really play very much of their games, if any of them. I don't think. I mean, I've heard of Nuclear Throne, but that's really in Lou Frusters. I've heard of both of them, but I don't think I've ever played any of them or messed with them. So, but yeah, I mean, I've seen Rami on Twitter all the time advocating for certain things, especially like when GDC was canceled. He was all over some of that push for those things. So he's definitely an advocate for building the game.
Yeah, he's definitely out there, and he's not going to go away anytime soon. Hopefully not. All right, next story. It's kind of a light news week because we're still waiting on those stupid ass console release dates and prices. CD Projekt Red. This was a weird story. There was some clickbait article, I think, from like GameSpot or IGN. That talked about microtransactions coming to Cyberpunk 2077. But it's the multiplayer component, not the single-player component. So CD Projekt Red had to confirm on their Twitter account that Cyberpunk 2077 is a single-player game. The one that's coming out this year, single-player game, will not have any microtransactions whatsoever. You buy it, that's the whole game. There'll be DLC for it in terms of like story expansions, but that's it. But there will be a multiplayer component that's a completely separate project coming in 2022, I believe, and that will have some form of microtransactions. Of course, this started a big frenzy because anytime you have microtransactions, people are going to hate on what you are.
But it's multiplayer.
Yes, and it's a separate project.
So it's going to be cosmetic.
Yeah. Like, especially from CD Projekt Red. Like, they're really consumer friendly, and I'll talk about something else they're doing a little bit. But yeah, it was just weird.
I find it fascinating that people keep thinking that there's going to be microtransactions in this when they don't have, as many times as they've reiterated on Witcher, like we're going to talk about in a second, they haven't added microtransactions. They haven't charged people for things, and they've done, I think you could do like the PC to the Switch. They've done the cross save. They've done tons of things that are very, consumer friendly and help to sell their game on multiple platforms without screwing the consumer. And as much with the delays and as much as presentations that have happened around this game, like I have never seen or looked at something even during any of the previews for this going, oh, well, that could be a microtransaction game. Like it's just like that's just not their style, and it hasn't been their style. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually concerned about whatever they are or aren't going to do in multiplayer because they really haven't delved into that world before. Yeah,
and the more and more we see of Cyberpunk 2077, I'm like, that gameplay looks a little iffy. That combat, that gunplay looks a little iffy. So a multiplayer version of this, I'm even more wary of. But
right, because again, it's still there, and people give hold them on a pedestal, which rightfully so. They've earned that pedestal, but they've never done a first person.
Yeah, and people forget Witcher 3, one of the greatest games of all time. When it launched, it did not play well. They patched it to where it was an okay gameplay-wise thing. Like they're world builders, storytellers first, and then the gameplay for Witcher 3 was kind of rough, and it's like in an acceptable state now. So, like every time I see gameplay for this, I'm just like, oh, I hope it's good. Like I think Dave, you'll probably remember when I first saw the game a couple years ago, that was like one of the things I came out from of like the shooting looks a little weird, looks a little light. There's no impact. It's improved since then, but yeah.
But they're not. They haven't done a first-person game before, let alone a first-person shooter. Yeah. So like that's and it looks like this has multiple aspects of it. I'm fully confident in their ability to tell a story and to build a world and to have an amazing looking, game. But I just don't. Part of it is for me like the cyberpunk aspect of this game just doesn't that genre doesn't allure to me at all. And the more that this is kind of getting to the point of like, all right, this game just needs to come out. Like I'm just kind of tired of like hearing about it and talking about it, and I just would love for it to just come out so that people can play it, and then it's out in the world and they can decide whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. But it's just always interesting to me. And like you were saying, like we were just talking about, like they also announced that they're going to bring Witcher 3 to the next gen consoles, and they're not going to charge anybody anything. If you own it already, you're just going to get to play it. If you own it on PlayStation 4, you're going to get to play it on PS5. If you own it on Xbox, you're going to play it on Series X. So like that's another kudos to them, and it gives it even more of a reason for people that maybe haven't played The Witcher yet to delve into the world and pick it up maybe before they play Cyberpunk. But you don't have to. It doesn't have any connection.
Yeah. No, go
ahead.
No, go for it.
And like to your point a little bit about the way the game controls, I feel like some of these studios are like kind of like in this bubble where it's like, well, GTA is great and Red Dead is great. Like, well, those games controlled like shit.
Yeah. They definitely. I still don't like the way Grand Theft Auto games play, but they're still good.
Yeah, there's certain things that you can get over and go through it because like one little notch on something isn't a big deal when everything else is really well polished or really well done. But it's just like it's so weird, and I am concerned about CD Projekt Red doing multiplayer, and then wondering like as they're also trying to build a multiplayer game, thinking about the way to monetize this multiplayer game, because this is going to be an attachment to Cyberpunk. It's not going to be its own. I don't think it's going to be its own standalone thing, unless they decide to bring it out as its own free to play.
That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be,
and then it'll be microtransaction heavy, obviously, because it's free to play, and then you can get away with more stuff when your game's free.
Yeah.
Like when the functionality of your game is free, which is why Fortnite gets more of a pass than other games that have built-in battle passes.
Yeah, I have a feeling the multiplayer will end up being free to play, just because I feel like what the microtransactions are going to be is just cosmetic stuff, because there's so much shit you can do to like cosmetically in the Cyberpunk universe.
But then it's still the same. Like I had this issue with Destiny a little bit too, with their microtransactions, especially in a first-person game. You don't really get to see them physically as much on you, other than the weapon you're holding. Like, it's like, oh, I have a really cool helmet. Like, yeah, but you can't, you don't see it.
It's for the other players to look at that you're killing.
Versus Fortnite, where you see pretty much your entire character, or your gliders are different, and your emotes and your animations.
Yeah. Because I kind of hate first-person games that, like, you're buying cosmetics, so it's like, okay, when you do your special kill, they'll pop up the third person, and it's just like, well, that's time someone else can kill me. Like Apex has like those like cool animations that you can do for like a final blow.
Yeah, like a finisher.
Yeah, and that stuff just always drives me crazy because I usually end up would die during that because it's like.
Well, and then also I feel like after a certain point in time as the player, you're not even really paying that much attention to it. Like you might be doing it for a challenge, you might be doing it for a bonus. I don't even know whatever like reward the game is giving you, but you're also like once you click that button, your mind is also like focusing on the area around you and to your next thing. So you're not even really paying attention to it. And to be honest with you, when I'm getting killed in Apex, I'm not like, hey, that skin that guy's kicking my face with looks really cool.
Sometimes it's a really cool skin, but you look at it once and then you go buy it. Like that's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was just a weird story just because CD Projekt Red just had to like get on their Twitter account for Cyberpunk and then just like spin the clickbaity articles to figure this out. But that's it for that. And now me and Dave can talk about how we were wrong for once. But I'm still disappointed. Mario 35th anniversary news finally hit Nintendo Direct last week. I think it's like 20-minute Direct where they announced a bunch of Mario things. There's Mario 35, which is a Mario Battle Royale type thing. Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury coming February 12th. They're going to have a Super Mario Brothers handheld game, like a Nintendo Classic like experience coming out for the Super Mario. And then they are doing a Mario Kart, like physical Mario Kart thing that has like little cameras.
This thing looked really
cool. It's $100 a cart.
It's a remote control.
I know, and it's got a little camera, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tech in that. Like initially, when I saw the trailer and I showed it to my wife, because Owen's kind of at that age where like there's a lot of tech in this car that the Switch itself is controlling the car, and then it's using kind of an augmented reality a little bit with that camera to make a track. So like that's really cool. And then usually like when this isn't obviously this is an officially licensed Nintendo product, like they're making it like these carts are going to be good quality and they're going to be very detailed. Like, so I think they've only talked about or shown the Mario and the Luigi. cars, but like I was actually really interested in this, and this might be something to consider. I think I could have a blast playing this with Owen.
Yeah, but you'll have to buy two, like a Mario and a Luigi.
Well, even just letting him play it though, like he'll spend more time setting up the track than he will playing the game.
Yeah, I wonder how fast they go, just because like the track size would be very important to like the speed that your cart's going to go through, just to see like how much space you'll need to get like a really fun track, or it's going to just go real quick. Like I want to know, can you expand?
Yeah, I mean the room they showed looked kind of big, but I mean the looks can always be deceiving on things.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
to take this like into the driveway or something like that, or somewhere with a big open space, and if you can buy multiple camera sets or whatever it uses to like expand everything to do like crazy gigantic things, I want to see people push this to the limits. But damn, is it expensive. All right, and then the big thing was Super Mario 3D All-Stars. This is a collection featuring Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy. It is going to be $60, and it is available September 18th, so it's next week, and it is available until March 31st, so it's a limited time run, digitally and physically. No, digitally as well.
Digitally as well?
Digitally as well. They're going to put it in the vaults. They're pulling some Disney shit on us.
Well, I'm getting okay. If that's the case, then I'm probably gonna figure out a way to buy it between now and
then.
So.
I already pre-ordered the physical copy because I'm like, okay, if you're gonna do a limited run, just give me the physical copy for the hell of it.
Yeah, I'm just afraid I'm gonna lose that Switch cartridge. Owen's in this destructive phase.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought it stops at 2. Is it terrible 2s? What is he in?
It doesn't. Yeah, it stops at maybe breaking my Switch.
He's at destructive 5s. I don't know.
Yeah.
Furious 5s.
Yeah, so this is actually like we talked about this. Somebody asked us this question like last week or 2 weeks ago, and I said that I thought that like the Galaxy would be its own bundle, and I think I said 64 and Sunshine might be together.
You thought the GameCube ones would be together, basically Sunshine.
Yeah, I think I only expected like 2 to be together, and then I thought like as you got into the Wii and into the Wii games, like I think that the quote unquote size of the games might have been getting too big. But it's interesting that they did all 3 of them on 3 different console generations on one. You know, that's $20 a game. Like, it's not
but
bad.
then they skipped. Some games from those generations.
Well, they skipped some of the weird, like some of the stuff that maybe people didn't like as
Sunshine
well.
Sunshine is there.
What other Mario? Yeah, Sunshine
and no one
is
likes
there.
That.
Yeah, but what other Mario game was on GameCube?
Let me pull it
3D.
up because I might be wrong on that. I think it was just.
Because I know there was like Galaxy, and then there was like Galaxy 2.
That's the thing I think most people are upset about is this Galaxy 2 isn't on this. I think it's just like Paper Marios that are being skipped from the GameCube, but they could have done a Paper Mario collection.
Yeah, but I have a feeling that they might still do a Paper Mario collection.
Yeah.
You know, they because it's still like the anniversary. I think the anniversary just starts in September, right? Like like Mario came out in September 35 years ago. So like but this also just intrigues me for next year, which is Zelda's 35th.
Yeah, which there's a lot they could do here. So one thing that is annoying, I editorialized a little bit in our notes. I think the reason they're justifying putting these 3 games in a $60 package is they're not doing shit to them. These are just the original games running at a higher resolution. That's it. These aren't like full remake remasters.
Do you really want them making trying to make I mean, what else can they do to Mario 64?
They if they would have went like a full Crash Bandicoot, give us some nicer textures, fix the camera stuff, other than here is the original game, especially because the game is still going to be in 4:3, so they're not even going to do widescreen for that one. It's just going to be 4:3 on the Switch. I would have maybe find a way to get that 16:9 or redo some of the assets, give us some higher resolution assets as opposed to just run the game at a higher resolution.
Yeah. But this is what Nintendo always does.
Yeah, this is Nintendo being Nintendo. And then Mario Galaxy is a beautiful looking game. I'm hoping they looked at the Dolphin emulator, because Mario Galaxy in 1080p is gorgeous. It works really well, so I'm hoping they're just using some of that emulator stuff that fans have made to give us the best version of Galaxy. I just wish they would have put more work into them, but that probably would have led them to make it more expensive and do what we thought they were going to do and just release them separately.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to remaster Mario 64, they're going to sell it as a $50 or $60 game by itself.
Yeah, but I wouldn't mind that just because 64 games are kind of annoying to play now. Like, the camera angles are rough. Some of the textures are going to look a little muddy and weird. So I would have preferred a little bit more work going into it, but we don't know how bad like COVID hit them, which someone, I think it was Jeff Gersman, brought up a theory on why they're doing a limited release for this. And it's because they have nothing else coming out really this holiday. And they, outside of Animal Crossing doing really well for them, but like this game's going to be unavailable when the quarter ends for the fiscal year. So if you get everyone to just rush out and buy that game, that's a nice thing to have on your fiscal report. Well,
and also it builds a demand to pick up the collection. You're not going to wait and be like, I'll just wait till it goes on sale. Like, I can wait. I've played those games before. Like, now you really can't wait. Like, I thought that, it was just the physical copies would be limited. Maybe they've clarified it since then, because this was a little bit of a subject of discussion in our Facebook group about, why they would do this. And I mean, it makes sense, because otherwise people would just wait. Like, the collection will just, I can get it cheaper, and then, I wouldn't be. I don't want to see other companies do this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they try to do, especially if they're bringing something, re-upping something or redoing something or bringing something back, where they go, hey, you're only gonna be able to buy this for like 8 months.
Yeah, it makes me worried. Like, I was hoping Galaxy would maybe be DLC, but when I heard that they're taking it away digitally, I'm like, well, shit. Then they can't just re-release Galaxy 2 as a DLC for this, because then only a certain amount of people would end up getting it.
But I think it's also a really interesting way to figure out, like, is this something that consumers want? Like, if it's something that the consumers want, you got 6 months to buy it, and if you don't buy it, it's gone. So prove that you want it. And if it does well, maybe we'll see them do more stuff like this. And then
idiots will complain that they only bought it because it was limited, and now it's being re-released, and then they throw a fit if it gets, like, re-released.
No, I don't expect them to re-release it for a long time, but I would love to see something like Super Mario RPG, grouped with something else, or even just bringing, maybe even, I mean, I know you can play it on the Nintendo Online services, like all the classic Mario games. Super Mario All-Stars, I believe, is on there. But some people don't like to subscribe to the service, and they'd rather just buy a collection. And if they can sit there and see, like, hey, if we do a 6 or 8 month demand window on something, at least from a consumer standpoint, you don't have to worry about it, getting a getting a heavy markdown. Yeah.
My only fear from all this, of it being super successful, is we've been waiting for them to put on their online service like emulators for, GameCube and N64 and Wii. If this is successful, they're probably just going to stop the Nintendo Online service at the Super Nintendo, just because it would be like no reason for them to put their games on that service.
Yeah, but I could still see them taking 2 or 3 games from the Nintendo, the NES online service, or the SNES online service, and putting them in a physical bundle, and people still buying it.
Yeah, but do you see them expanding to GameCube and N64 if they can make money off these bundles?
I see both. Like, if they have any intention of offering GameCube games and 64 games on the Nintendo Online service, I can see both, because it's like you talked about, though. Like, from a player, like for me, the since I've owned the Switch, the majority of the time that I've played the Switch was in my car when my wife was driving, and I would not be able to access the online network while I'm driving.
Yeah.
So, or while the car is, like while we're moving, we're not connected to Wi-Fi. So for them to offer something that maybe I do want to play, or would want to play, or play Mario with Owen and not have to worry about, like, it'd be something like I picked up, Paper Mario Origami King because I had the Switch and I was traveling.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main reason that I picked it up. So for me to be able to, like, I can play Mario, Super Mario RPG, but I have to be connected to the network.
Yeah.
So, like, at what point do would I, if they put that Mario game in a bundle for me that I could either buy digitally or have the card for, and I could just not have to worry about being connected to the network, then that's intriguing to me. From a Nintendo standpoint. I can't take my PlayStation and play it in my car. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah. Remote play, kind of. But who uses that? It's just interesting how they decided to go about this, and just to know how much. There was a report earlier that this announcement was possibly delayed 7 months because of, the COVID stuff. So I know we'll probably never know, but maybe in a couple years we'll get like some books about like how COVID like messed up all these plans.
See, maybe, but I feel like, okay, that logo and, I don't know the exact date. I mean, I'd have to look it up. I could look it up really quick, but I'm pretty sure that Mario released around this time 35 years ago.
Yeah, but the announcement is so tight. It's out next week.
But they do this all the time.
Sometimes, but not frequent enough. But
the Nintendo Directs are known for this, and this is available next month. And then, okay, here's an update on a game we have coming out. And they always have it's available next month. It's available now. Here's DLC. Like they did it with Smash, they like with Zelda, they released like DLC during they announced it at the Direct, and it came out in a short window, and then they talked about a project that's a little farther out, and then they did like a teaser trailer for something that's even farther out. So when they usually don't do a game specific Direct like this, there is always some little mini bombshell that drops.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, maybe it was delayed, but I don't think that 7 months for them to sit there and say, like, in February or March, like, hey, we've got a new Mario collection coming out in September. Like, they wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't be shocked if, like, because there was going to be an E3 this year, so there probably was going to be during that E3 that they'd make this announcement. It just seems weird. I'm just a little annoyed because as someone who just struggled to get a video game delivered to his house during the current pandemic, giving a week turnaround time for like suppliers to like ship this out is like kind of cutting it close. So it just seems kind of weird that they would just do this, especially if they're going to do a physical release for it, to just be like, hey, in less than 2 weeks, it's available. You'll get it when you get it, basically.
Yeah, but they got you.
Oh yeah, they got me, but I'm totally not expecting to play this game on September 18th. I will probably end up getting it. I have it pre-ordered, but I probably won't be playing it day one. I'll get it whenever the post office decides to send it, or whenever they can send it. But yeah, that's it for news, though. Kind of a light week. I know we're just patiently waiting, or not even patiently waiting at this point. We're angrily waiting for some sort of announcement from Sony or Microsoft.
Yeah. So, just in reference, Super Mario Brothers for Nintendo Entertainment System released on September 13th, 1985.
Still,
so it's 5 days. Like, it's going to release on the 18th. So they did it 5 days to the day. Like, that's planned.
That's planned, but I feel like this announcement could have probably been done a little... Give a little bit more time to do this announcement. Would have been nice. Yeah. But, you know what? Yeah. I guess it is what it is when it comes to that. It's just how Nintendo functions now. I do want to know, like, how many of these, like, because every week we've had, like, credible sources say, like, there will be a Direct this week, and for months it's been delayed. I'm not just talking about just random people on Twitter just saying it. Like, credible sources have been like, I know for a fact it's happening Friday, and then it doesn't happen. Like, it's been like that for a couple months. I wonder how many times this announcement has potentially been pushed.
Well, I'm also wondering, like, with some of the Nintendo's control aspects that they have of their like games coming to their platform, like, it's been a long time since we heard about a pretty significant third-party game coming to Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I think the last one I can think of is Apex, but that's not a new game.
Yeah, I'm just talking about even like I mean, nothing off the top of my head that I can think of, but something like
why didn't Tony Hawk come to the Switch? You know, like.
Well, it's not even that though. It's like these games that are sometimes built for the Switch. Like, I mean, like I'm drawing some blanks, but obviously, like, you know, we've got the Donkey Kongs and you know, on you know, Mario, the Metroids, which are all Nintendo controlled, Nintendo first party. But then there's also been games that, you know, have been super successful on the Switch that come from third parties that are usually either only on the Switch. And it's been a long time since we heard about that at all.
Yeah. Like EA was the only one that like mentioned, like, releasing a bunch of stuff, but it's all old shit. Like, nothing new. Mm-hmm. But I guess they just don't need it. I mean, shit, Animal Crossing sold 22 million copies this year. Like, they don't need it, and I guess the fan base doesn't really want it.
Yeah, but like, didn't like who made
Bravely Default?
Bravely Default?
Yeah, I believe that's Square with Nintendo.
Square, but that was exclusive to the Switch, right?
Yeah. It's on
so
PC now.
That's,
but yeah.
Right, but that's kind of the stuff that I was talking about, like those games that are, that use Nintendo's either platform or use some of their characters even, and like that they allowed third parties to mingle with, and we haven't seen that in quite a while.
Yeah, it's just
especially for there being such the Switch is doing so well from a platform.
Well, they're having issues with like the Metroid game is now Switch developers. I think twice now. The one that they announced 2 years ago. Bayonetta seems to be stuck in some sort of limbo where Platinum's like, yeah, we're still working on it. It isn't canceled. And we haven't seen that.
Well, that's because Platinum tried to split themselves into 6 teams when they're really only a 2-team studio.
Yeah, and they're still apparently trying to figure that out. So there's still third-party stuff coming, but yeah, you're right. There hasn't been anything new that they've announced to like get people excited for like third-party games that aren't just like ports coming to their platform. But nothing major, like we're not hearing from
Capcom.
Capcom. Nothing really from Square too much. I think there's a new Bravely Default coming. I think they announced that. But
yeah.
But all their third-party stuff has been like indie third-party development. It hasn't been AAA stuff. So nothing crazy big has been announced. But I guess they just don't need it, Like my Switch is a indie machine / Nintendo machine. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not upset about it. I mean, I bought the Switch because I wanted to play Mario's and I wanted to play Zelda's, and this collection would just be. It's an easier way for me to introduce Owen to playing like Mario 64 or Sunshine, like, and that'll be stuff that I get to have fun with, and to see like he did pretty well with Odyssey, other than fighting the bosses. Yeah. So I think that Mario 64 would be a great introduction for him to be able to play stuff and not having to worry about him being connected to the network all the time. It helps when he's in the car.
Yeah.
So.
It'll just be funny him going from Odyssey to 64 and being like, why does it look like this? You're just like, it's an old game.
He likes Roblox. He'll be fine.
He'll be good. It's all good. That's all I had for news. Again, light week for the new stuff. Though Minecraft VR is happening for PSVR, as Bad76 mentioned in the chat, which is cool. Microsoft's still supporting Minecraft on PlayStation with like PSVR support.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's going to work for Oculus and stuff too, or if it already does work for Oculus.
Yeah, it's just, they haven't given up on it, but that probably means that there's still a shit ton of people on PlayStation.
Yeah. I wonder if it works on Samsung's VR as well.
It probably does.
Yeah. All right, so play and watching. So I'm going to go first. I'll do a little bit of watching. This kind of ended up happening by accident today. As like I said, I've been trying to find some other shows, and we tried to watch a couple things. I tried to watch High Score documentary, and I got about 10 or 15 minutes in, and I tapped out.
Okay, same. What was it about it?
For me, the first part is just too many subtitles.
Okay.
That's not a deal breaker for me, but it could just be the state that I'm in right now of like when I watched it. I just don't like. I almost at this point in time, I would almost, when you're going to do that much interviews and that much talking, I would almost have you voice dub over top of him if you're going to do that much. It just didn't. I don't know if I was just in a state of mind where I just didn't want to watch it.
Yeah, I do plan to try and get through it, but I watched like 10 minutes of it, and I just felt like they weren't telling any new stories that I haven't heard before. As soon as at one point it was just like, and games were a little different back then type of stuff, and they play like 80s music, and then you see like Space Invaders and stuff. I'm just like, no, I'm tired of this boomer shit. Like,
yeah, it was pretty heavy focused on Space Invaders right away too, and I was just like, okay, it might get better.
Apparently
I've heard
does.
that it gets better. Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm sorry, like, especially in the world, like, when you release your documentary on Netflix, like, your first episode's got to be on point.
And there's so many, like, I talk about no clip all the time in terms of, like, the stories they're telling. Apparently, High Score does get to the point where they tell stories that we haven't really heard from, or perspectives on stories we haven't heard from, which I'm interested in. But, like, I just watched a Tony Hawk documentary. That was really good. No Clip did some really good documentaries all the time. Especially recently, with like Arcane Studios. So there's a lot of content out there that the first episode just didn't grab me. I do plan to go through it, but it's going to definitely be one of those things I just kind of have in the background that I casually pay attention to.
But you can't do that if you have to read all the subtitles.
Well, if I hear Space Invader and Pac-Man sounds, I just won't look. Like, because I'm tired of hearing about Space Invader, Pac-Man, and Donkey Kong. Like, we have documentaries on that.
Yeah, and then today, it's Labor Day. I was actually off work today, getting ready, trying to get some things together for Owen to start virtual kindergarten this week, which will be interesting. Come to find out, he's only like on Zoom like 35 or 40-minute chunks at a time, like maybe 2 times a day. So everything else is kind of like, here's your assignments for the day, and kind of like work on them a little bit, and then come back and like show the teacher your work like on the camera. And so like that'll, like it seems maybe it'll be a little bit better than him trying to like have to keep looking at a camera like for 4 hours or 5 hours out of the day. And then so we tripped upon a series on Hulu called Outnumbered, and again, I'm very bad about actors' names, but it's the main character from American Pie,
Jason Biggs,
playing as a dad, and it's a sitcom. A married couple. They have 4 kids. 3 of them are registered geniuses, like their IQ is like in the 150s, and both the parents are like dumb. Okay. So, and it's like where the kids are like going up to them, and like the whole gist of the show was like they like, I need to work on my science project, and they're like quarantining the living room, and the parents go to the basement to hide from the kids, and that's where they drink beer and stuff because they try to get away from their children. So it had some funny moments. The show only lasted a season, and it's just kind of one of those things where I'm kind of at that point with television shows that I look at something on Hulu or on Netflix that's only like 10 episodes of 20 minutes at a time. I'm like, all right, I can watch this for a couple days and be done with it, and not have to worry about I'm 7 seasons behind on something, and this is going to require a huge investment of my life. And then today we watched all of season 1 of Cobra Kai. It's on Netflix now. Netflix picked up season 2 and I believe produced season 2. And that's the beginning. The first couple episodes were a little rough. It was slowly getting better. And in terms of like they're trying to, I guess my best terminology is to Friday Night Lightsify a karate, like a karate, build relationships with the teenagers and the rivalry. The thing that I noticed the most that I'm having kind of the hard time with is I don't really know who's the kind of the villain in this world.
I don't know if there's an outright villain in it from what I've seen. Right? I don't think so. Yeah. So like we finished the first season today. I'm enjoying it. There is they definitely don't have any shame in referencing the movies. And building from that. And there's actually been a couple like times where it's like you thought something was going to happen from the movies entirely, and it didn't. Mm-hmm. It's fine. Like if you've watched the Karate Kid movies at all, if you enjoyed them at all, there's some interesting references to it, and it's got some decent writing, and it got better as the season went on. So I wasn't like disappointed, and I'm still going through Supergirl. Just been kind of watching that here or there. I get home from work at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night. I watch an episode or 2 and then go to bed. So, what are you playing? Have you played anything?
So I bought Avengers on Friday.
This is what I wanted to get to. I was
kind of going back and forth on it. Yeah. I was kind of going back and forth on it. So the early access or the 3-day early version of it came out on Tuesday. A couple people that I know have it, and they were saying it was good. And then it even showed up on some of the people that my wife follows on social media. They were kind of talking about it. She was interacting with some people on it, and the gist of what we were getting it was that it's a really good Miss Marvel storyline. Yes. Which I think that they did a really bad job of portraying that as they were building the game. Even the stuff that we got to see, hardly ever focused on Kamala Khan.
Yeah. Well, especially the beta apparently cut out a lot of the major cutscenes that would make you really attached to Miss Marvel, which makes sense they would do that in the beta, but apparently
I feel like that, like this has always been portrayed as an Avengers game, and don't get me wrong, it is an Avengers game, but it's also like at its core, I feel like I'm like 6 hours in right now. Like this is a Miss Marvel origin story game, and I think that if they would have tried to maybe kind of present that, I think it might have got a little bit more, people might have given it a little bit more forgiveness and maybe not worried about what Thor looked like as much.
They're probably worried about the incels, to be completely honest, of saying like, hey, this is a Miss Marvel game that probably would have pissed off some dumbasses online.
Yeah. But I am truly enjoying it. It definitely, like, you can, I mean, I can tell that Crystal Dynamics made this game in terms of like the movement and stuff like that. But I do enjoy the traversal. The thing that I'm most impressed about is how well Miss Marvel moves and traverses in the game, and it is fun to play as her. I've only gotten to the point in the campaign where I've unlocked a couple of characters. I can see the groundwork that they're laying for this being quote unquote a game as a service, of like where you're kind of building up your base of operations, you're kind of building your team, you're reassembling the Avengers, which isn't like any kind of spoiler or hidden thing from anything. So there's definitely that aspect to it. The quote unquote loot does seem a little bit confusing to me. And not necessarily confusing like in a bad way, but as you play as Kamala Khan from the very beginning of the game, and you're earning stuff for her as you're playing as her, and then you start playing as another character and you earn some things for that character, and then you start playing as another character, and so on and so forth. I guess the best term I can use is the drop rate for some of that gear is interesting as you're playing through. Like, it's got the common and the legendary and the exotic like color level set to it of as you're picking up gear, and you can see the gear leveling up. But when you immediately start playing as like your third character, and the game is dropping relatively high level gear right away. There's definitely this imbalance of your character level and then your character's power level. Your character's XP level and then your character's power level. And then again, it has and this is very early on, so as I'm saying this, I'm just using this as an analogy. Please don't hold me to this as maybe I play through this a little bit longer. But I am getting from the loot-based drops of them not, like we've talked about, them not changing the character's look at all. I'm getting a little bit of Anthem vibes from the game.
Okay.
In terms of, you can't change Iron Man's shooting from his hand.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't get a new weapon, a new hand. It's
at
the
least
same thing.
So far, what you say, there could be something later on. Because they did mention some gear combination stuff that you can change their abilities a little bit, but it's not major changes.
Right, but you're not going to, like, all of a sudden, like, Iron Man's not going to move differently in the game, or, versus, like, other looters, like, you play Borderlands, all of a sudden you get a weapon that shoots out a magical beret of blades, of saw blades, or, Destiny, where you get a scout rifle and a hand cannon, an auto rifle and a sidearm, and a different type of weapon archetype. You're not really changing any of the core mechanics of Iron Man, or of Hulk, or of, Kamala Khan. Like, all of a sudden, her hand's not going to just, like, be different.
Yeah.
So like that's a little weird there. It is a little taxing to continue as you go to different environments to fight this. You're obviously you're fighting against AIM, and that's the only people that you've seen so far. So it'll be interesting again to see post campaign content, how that works. The matchmaking was a little bit weird. You can actually choose to opt into matchmaking on your missions while you're playing the campaign, and I did that just because I was like, all right, let's check it out. And something happened where either that guy decided to leave the match, or he disconnected, and he was like the quote unquote leader, and I didn't catch it on the screen where I had to like press hold or hold the touchpad to deny the request, and all of a sudden like I got kicked out of the mission.
Yeah, there's some weird archaic like stuff that they implemented into their like multiplayer portion, which is just a little baffling. The no drop in drop out stuff is annoying. Just getting together with friends. But
I feel like the missions are small enough that the no drop in no drop out isn't a deal breaker. At least right now.
Some of those boss fights,
campaign missions.
Yeah, some of those boss fights can be a little time consuming on the higher difficulties from the beta at least. Like the higher difficulty ones do take a lot of time, so it's annoying then.
But I can also see the reasoning behind that is because there's been a ton of times where people, like, it's even happened like in Destiny where somebody kicks somebody out near the end and lets their friend join that didn't do any of the work. So there's pros and cons to it as well. I've seen a lot of people that I follow like on Twitter like that are worried, like from the PC standpoint, is like this game actually keeps local files on your save file locally. So for a game as a service thing that's as heavily microtransaction based as it appears to be, as well as earning an in-game currency that you can use in the store, that's got like cheater duplication written all over it, they're saying.
Yeah, okay, I could totally see that.
Yeah, whether your ability to dupe this currency or something like that. So like there's definitely some concerns about that. But overall, like I think based on some of the stuff that I've read or seen, I'm a little probably 60% into the campaign.
It's like 12 hours.
Yeah, so and to see how that how that's all going to work out. Like I'm having fun with it right now. The loot stuff isn't bothering me, and I'm not really going to be able to make a true definition on the loot until I start playing an endgame. Post campaign, I have a hard time calling it endgame in Avengers. Like it just seems to not work for me.
Yeah, it just doesn't compute.
But the thing that I'm the most concerned about, and I get why they did it, but the inability to allow multiples of the same character to be able to play. So you like if you're playing with a group of friends, like 3 or 4 people, and all of a sudden like 2 people are Iron Man mains and their characters are like fully leveled up, like it's going to be like, well, what level is yours? What ability do you have? Oh, okay, you win. So I'm going to bring this other small character in. Like I could see it punishing you for if you focus on one character, which is a little concerning to me, which also still concerns me about the way that the leveling system and the drops work when you're picking up additional characters 60%, 80% into the campaign.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden, like if I pick up a new character and I'm like 20% at the very end of the campaign, do I have to go back and not necessarily go back, but do I like to play other content to level this character up just to get them ready for me to be able to play with my friends? Like that's kind of weird. But at the same time, it looks like they are telling a cool story of what happens with the Avengers. Like some of the cutscenes that that we've had of the dynamic that Kamala Khan has with Bruce Banner and the dynamic that Kamala Khan has with Tony Stark as they're building the roster. They're telling a really cool story. The cutscenes are good. The voice acting and the dialogue and the writing is all of it's good. And it's funny, and I'm having a good time playing it. And the mission structure is a little stale, but it's the wanting to see what happens next is enough to get me through it. So to the point where like, oh, I don't want to play this anymore because the story's bland. I'm interested to see how this is going to develop, and as they rebuild the Avengers, to then play more and play in the post campaign. So I am not disappointed that I bought it. And I also there's also a part of me, and obviously they can't control this at the store level, at the retail level, but if they are going to keep adding as much additional free content as it appears that they're going to be adding, I could see them not marking this game down.
Yeah, that's my fears, because I kind of want to pick it up, but as a single player game, so I don't know if I'd want to buy it unless it's on sale, which is I'm just going to hold out for Black Friday weekend sale on it, just because I will just play this as a single player game, especially because you talked about, when they start releasing characters, and like there's going to be the issue where when Kate Bishop gets released and you have a squad of 4 friends, they're probably all going to want to play the new character, but not all 4 of you are going to be able to play it. So like they might need to release multiple characters at a time.
And there's rumors that each character is going to have like a 3 to 5 hour campaign.
Yeah, so like you're going to want to focus on that character, and they do have a cool list of characters. I'm kind of just hoping they release multiple characters at one time to like alleviate some of that pressure, just like help out with that.
Yeah, and if they release multiple characters at one time, it does help with like quote unquote content droughts, because like people might play the character that they want to play, and then because there's been rumor that this game's going to have raids.
Yeah.
So to figure out like what these characters are, and then also the concern is over time as they continue to add more and more characters and then up the roster, my concern is balance.
Yeah.
In terms of like as you're building something and looking at things to see how that goes. And I mean, who knows? Like a lot of people are like, well, like, like they just, like Square Enix just needs to make the game right the first time. Like, well, it's not that easy anymore. Like to make a game right the first time, in terms of, especially when you look at a game, and again, I'm not comparing the two of them, but you look at something as much animosity as Last of Us Part 2 got for them telling the story exactly the way they wanted to tell it, and they said to be damned with the player feedback, and then to a game, again, that's a little bit of a different style and a different genre of Avengers that's looking at the players and how they're playing and what they're doing and how they're interacting with the game and then adjusting from there. It's always an interesting dynamic. Sometimes it works. Like Bungie has, done a really good job most of the time, and then other times not such a good job. Massive and Ubisoft with the Division 1. They worked and worked and worked and worked, and they hit a stride, and then they fell back again with Division 2, and they're trying to go back to it again. And it's it's so hard to see, but then you also have a game like Anthem where BioWare, sorry, I almost said BioShock, but BioWare is like, fuck it, I don't know what to do.
We'll fix it, we swear to God.
So it's like,
yeah.
So it's like, it's so hard to see, and you're just gonna have to, like, we're not even a week out from Avengers being released, and like, some people are like, oh, they're already bored with the end game. I'm sorry, you cannot legitimately judge the end game until you see some type of pinnacle activity in the game, which to my knowledge is not in Avengers yet. But anybody that is critically looking at the longevity of this game, reviewing it 5 days or 6 days out is incredible. Like, I know that these sites are trying to do this to make sure that they're getting their clicks and to be first. But in a game like this, you need to play it with your friends and go back through and play it with fully leveled up characters and have a good understanding of the mechanics and figuring that out and understanding how the game's going to work and the currency is going to work and the economy is going to work before you can make a legitimate judgment on it.
Oh yeah, for sure, totally. Anything else?
No.
Nothing you can talk about, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I did get to play. So, I mean, I can say that, I did. I had the opportunity to play something digitally through a Ubisoft Capture event, very similar to what you were able to do with Watch Dogs. To the point where the guy that I was connected to playing was like, "Wow, your stuff is very stable." I'm like, "Well, I pay a decent chunk of money to have this stable internet." So, it's like, but that. You'll see this podcast releases on Thursday the 10th at 6 a.m. Depending on what time you're listening to this, around 4 p.m. Eastern time. On Thursday the 10th, there'll be more. You guys will be able to see what I was able to play. It'll be on YouTube and it'll be on the podcast service. So if you're listening to this after the 10th, it's already on your feed.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking vaguely because we're live before.
Okay.
The 10th.
Yeah. Can't say the name of it. Yeah.
It's immediately after the Ubisoft Forward, which is on the 10th.
Yeah, which hopefully they have something good for that. That Ubisoft Forward, and we have a reason to record.
Well, I can tell you there's one good thing.
Yeah, you can tell us one good thing. You just can't say the name yet. All right, for me, it was just one game, just due to time. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remaster Remake. I forget exactly which R word they're using for that one. I'm so happy and relieved because I've been bamboozled by the Tony Hawk franchise twice before, where a game demos really well and then comes out and it's bad. This one is damn near perfect. So this is remaking the first two games. They added Create a Park to it. They added multiplayer stuff that we really saw fleshed out in 3. Added to this. From start, this game just brought that nostalgia, that power with it that almost got me emotional because it's so damn good. Like the start video showing the old skaters and then the new skaters they added, it was just great. The new skateboarders are really cool. The music they've added to this along with the original soundtrack stuff is perfect, and it just plays good. Like, I was just so happy. Yeah. That it
get ready for any YouTube video or on demand or Twitch broadcast to be muted.
Yeah, I just love what they did to it. Like, there's nothing really wrong with it. There's like some small little like environmental design stuff that kind of irked me, but it just doesn't matter in a grand scheme of things because it just plays really well. I was just so excited that this was actually good.
So I watched some of your live stream the other day, and I remember playing this game, like, I think on PlayStation 1, 2?
PS1.
Okay. Yeah. I don't remember, like, and I might say this wrong, but like when you crash or wipe out, like, I don't remember that rewind sound.
That's new. They would fall and get back up.
And I felt, right, but I also felt like the falls would be a little bit more dramatic in the original game than they are in this one.
They were, I mean, as dramatic as they could be.
Wouldn't you, like, fall down the stairs? Like, wouldn't your character, like, fall and keep going? Like, if you had enough momentum build and you missed a grind or you ran into a pipe or you ran into a barrier, like, you would go, or is that a different game than I remember?
You might be thinking of the other ones, because they would fall and they would get right back up. If you fell on the stairs in the old game, your character would just pop right back up on the stairs, even though you can't really move on the stairs that well. You might be thinking of, like, Thug or something like that, Underground or some of the later ones. Yeah, they added that little weird glitchy rewind thing when your character falls down, which I think is like a nice touch to it, as opposed to just, seeing them bleed out like you would before, because in the previous games you would just see like spots of blood just on where they fell. I was just so happy that the game just doesn't control like garbage. Like it's the physics are really good. It doesn't feel floaty or anything like that. It feels like it should. And as someone who's like replayed the second game this year, it improves on that gameplay while still feeling like those old games. Like you can easily get that muscle memory back playing this. And they did the thing that Activision was doing for like Spyro and Crash, where they didn't change the map designs or anything like that. These are the maps that you had back then. All the objectives should be, unless they may move some, are in the spot they're supposed to be in. The only problem I have with some of the objectives is they changed like the looks of some of them, and I feel like they blend too much into the environment, which is a little weird.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that when you were playing. I was like, where is that at?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
yeah,
there
it's
it
like
is.
I know where it's at because I played the games before, but it's just the skate letters kind of have too much of a color grading on it to where it kind of makes them hard to see when you're moving super fast. But other than that, like the maps are exactly how you remember them. Downhill Jam is still a shitty map, even in this new one, but that's how authentic they were to this game. That the maps that are shitty back then are still shitty today, but they look better. So I'm glad they didn't like dabble with stuff too much, because they just wanted you to like, you know, you're revisiting, you know, an old friend basically. You know, you're going through this stuff and like, I remember that, I remember this. So that's great. I started by playing, you know, Bucky Lassick, who I always pick Bucky, so it was nice to see Bucky, even though he's older. You know, seeing like old man version of all these skateboarders is a little bit of a bummer, because it tells you time is moving forward. But it's just a blast, and like you earn currency so fast in that game. So I ended up just buying like pretty much every skateboard and all the other cosmetic shit that you can buy in this, which there is a ton of cosmetics. You know, there's different trucks, different wheels, different grip tape, different board designs, different clothing for your characters. There's a ton of like unlockables, and they've added a lot of different challenges that you can do outside of the main goals per level. There's just a ton of skateboarder specific challenges, and then just overall challenges. And I love stat tracking. Like I love all that stat tracking shit when I can look.
The longest grind, how much hang time?
Yeah.
You know
And the create park stuff is still as weak as it was back then. Like I feel like they've never done create a park stuff well, but I almost feel like that's the authentic Tony Hawk experience of like having an underwhelming create a park system.
I don't know, man. I saw Johnny as a boy make a YouTube video of him making a roller coaster out of metal pipe grinds. And his character like is probably grinding up and down like what looks like to be a roller coaster style of build for like 2.5 minutes.
Well, yeah, no, people
straight.
already did because there's some hard trophies in here of like get 1 million points, get 10 million points. People already made like weird glitchy stuff to where it's just like you can just go crazy with that, which is cool that you can do that. The only thing I don't like about Create a Park stuff is they're just missing a lot of the flavor, like environment assets that you can put to make it feel like a like living skate park.
Like a level, and not just like a
just like a bare bones
a dense area that has jumps and rails.
Exactly, yeah. Because when I'm like going into even some of the ones that like Vicarious Visions made, because there's like different tabs of like community Vicarious made. Even the ones that Vicarious made, they're technically good parks, but they just seem so dead because there's just no flair going around with any of the stuff. So I'm hoping they add more stuff through like DLC, because there's so many gaps, because you can also buy like environmental assets. It would be really great, though I wouldn't want to see it microtransaction to hell with stuff. But yeah, I don't know, like let me design posters or like graffiti that I can then put into the game and add a little bit more life to the Create a Park stuff. But that's like, I don't think anyone's buying this for the Create a Park stuff. They're just buying it to replay those games. So I just wanted to have more life with it. I see Johnny in the chat is already disagreeing with me about the Create a Park stuff, but there's cool stuff.
But that's his world, man. He loves to tinker with stuff like that and to mess with things and to make something like that. I don't have the patience for that. So I mean, it might be like a great tool, but that's why like Dreams and all these games like never like grabbed me, because I'm like, I don't have the patience to do that. Like Mario Maker, like nope, I'm good. Like,
it was just weird, because like when I was playing it and I was like, okay, technically this is a good park, but like that building has no windows, that shack has no windows, there's like nothing going on with it that makes it look like a skate park. When I think of a skate park, I just think of stickers just fucking everywhere and stuff looking more beat up than, you know, fresh, clean things. So I would love to add stuff to that.
Do you think that the reason for this re-release or this remaster, and obviously they're probably going to look at a ton of the data from the players playing it, like, do you think there's plans for a newer version of Tony Hawk's game, like at 6?
I don't... So that's been
or have they just given up and they're just going to clean up the other stuff and keep releasing it, like 3 and 4, it like cleaned up?
Well, so when you look at the menu for like this remake, the way they build out the menu, I can see them easily slotting 3 and 4 in here as future DLC as opposed to releasing them by themselves, which I hope they do because 3 is my all-time favorite.
You want it to be DLC or by itself?
I would prefer it to be DLC just so I can have it on one disc or, you know, like one like application. But if they release it separately, I'll be fine with that. But I would hope that they would add a bunch more assets. I would rather it just be one playground as opposed to having to pop multiple discs or open multiple applications. I was thinking about that in terms of like, do they go the path? Because the only other games that you would want them to remake is Thug and Thug 2. But so Tony Hawk Underground, really good game. Tony Hawk Underground 2, really good game, but it's attached to the Jackass franchise, which some of those people I believe are passed away, or Bam Margera's family is in jail, and I don't know if they're in Thug 2, so I don't know if they can do the second Underground game. So I don't know what exactly they do with that. And we've seen Activision try and continue Tony Hawk. I just wonder how you do like another Tony Hawk. Do you do Tony Hawk Pro Skater 6? Will people care without that nostalgia for it? Because I feel like a lot of people like me...
Oh, tons of people I've seen pick this game up just because they saw Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 2.
Yeah,
like
exactly. You know, like, but do they care?
Again, this is something that I saw people like taking social media pictures, Facebook, Twitter, of like, oh, you know, I was at the store and I didn't know this was out and I picked this up, like, just because they have a PlayStation and they're getting it. It's you know, the same. And again, I'm trying not to marginalize people, but the same people that buy Call of Duty and buy Madden, you know, remember this game when they go to the store and they pick it up, because, you know, and would they be inclined next year to pick up Tony Hawk Pro Skater 6?
I don't think so either. I think they would be more inclined to pick up 3 and 4 and the Thug games. Whether it's Thug 1 or Thug 2.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe, you know, Tony Hawk Underground is remastered comes next, or, you know, like you said, they continue to attach other ones to this.
I just don't. I don't know if I would even want a 6. Like I as someone who plays 3 every year for the last like 10, 15 years, however long 3's been out, I don't know if I want to play 6. And after 5 being a disappointment, I would just rather them remake the good games over the next like 2-3 years than try and come out again. Unless Skate sells really well, whatever the fuck the Skate game is going to be for EA, whether that's a remake or a new game. If that does well, maybe they go out of their way and make a new game to compete with Skate. But I feel like they can just ride the nostalgia for 2 more collections.
No, definitely. Yeah, and like Down Up Destiny says in chat, maybe they just call it Tony Hawk Evolution or something like that and stop trying to number it.
Yeah, I guess I would probably help them a lot than do that. But for that's kind of it for playing. Just because I started work last week, so I've just been like dead inside, and Tony Hawk was the one thing I had to look forward to.
Yeah. And I hope to play a little bit of Tony Hawk. We were able to redeem it on an account that Michael and I share, so I should be able to try to get my hands on it a little bit this week.
Yeah, and then we'll probably have a full review next week, and then I'm going to record a special episode with the Active Quest people for Tony Hawk, which I think we might put on this feed as well. We're just going to be all nostalgic about the Tony Hawk franchise. So that's it for playing. I will have a review for a game called Paradise Killer next week. It's like a mystery thriller game on the Switch, so me and Sarah hopefully will have enough time to play and finish that. I hear a lot of good things about it. Like, it's like a Danganronpa Ace Attorney type of vibes from it. So we'll have that next week. And then for watching, I finally saw Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie. I really liked that movie. It wasn't like a perfect film. It wasn't a great movie, but it was like a fun popcorn movie to where we just ate some food, watched it, and didn't hate ourselves after we watched it. And then Friday, me and Sarah did the very questionable thing of paying the $30 to see Mulan. So we watched Mulan. It was okay. That was the best I can think of. It was okay. It wasn't.
All right, I guess before you go any farther, so the $30. So my first question to you would have been, remove COVID from the equation. It's not a thing at all. Would you have gone to the theaters to see Mulan?
Yes, and ticket prices in Chicago are about like $15, $16 a ticket. So technically we saved money, though we probably could have waited a couple days and got a bootleg online. But I want them to release Black Widow this way. So I feel like I had to support Mulan so they can see.
My wife and I are kind of in the same page with that, where we're kind of like almost tempted to just buy it, even if we're only going to watch it once or twice, just to show that we want to see movies come out. Like I'm 100% okay with it, with the both avenues happening post COVID. I want there, and like $25 to $35 is I think is a good price range for you get. You know, I may or may not have gone to the movie theater, and I might have waited until it came out later, or gone to it when it was cheaper at the movie theater. You would have gone on day one. So like if they get $30 from you at the movie theater and they get $30 from me through a streaming or through a subscription service, like they're getting the same amount of revenue. If anything, they're making more money off of me than they are
because they don't have to cut into the theater. Like I want this to become the normal thing. Like I want to watch it from home. I have a nice TV, a nice audio system. I hate going to the movie theater
because I'm tempted to do it with Bill and Ted as well.
Yeah.
Like Bad put it in the chat. Like I want these movie companies to know that I'm willing to pay for this, to own this movie, or to rent this movie or whatever to be able to watch it at home.
Yeah.
I don't want to necessarily see movie theaters die, but I want the choice to be able to decide if I want to go there or not go there.
Yeah, especially now, and we don't know when things are going to go back to normal. Even if a vaccine comes out, it's going to take a long time for that to get distributed and everything.
But we've been talking about this being a choice before COVID.
Yes, yeah, this is something I've wanted. Like, I wish they did a thing where, like, you pre-order the Blu-ray, like you pay for the Blu-ray outright at the beginning, and then they just give you your digital copy early. That would be something I would totally be on board for. So I supported Mulan because I wanted Black Widow to be an option in the future. So the movie, so the acting was good, but it's, it doesn't have any of the songs. Like it uses the score from the movies kind of, or from the original movie. But it doesn't have any of the songs, doesn't have any of the, like Mushu or the cricket, doesn't have any of like the whimsy of the cartoon or the animated film, which, is kind of a strike to it. I guess they wanted to do a more realistic one, but oh my God, the action in this movie is terrible. I hated like the action in this movie. I feel like the cinematography or something was just really horribly shot, and the leaps in logic the movie forces you to take towards the end just so they can do their action scenes or their set piece moments just like made me just audibly gasp and talk shit during the movie, which I tend to be real quiet during movies, but there's times where me and Sarah just looked at each other and we're like, what the fuck was that? So I don't recommend the movie, though I want you guys to support this so I can see Black Widow at home, which I think, like, they're going to do this for Black Widow. Like, I feel like nothing's going to be fixed in November.
What is Black Widow's
November
date again?
6th.
Supposed to? Okay.
I don't want to spend my birthday going to see Black Widow in theater and catching COVID. I would love to just watch that at home on my birthday. And, like, I don't see a way for them to, like, just accept... Because, like, Tenet came out this weekend, and it didn't make a ton of money. So, like, I don't see Disney...
And it didn't have any other non-movie theater option, right?
Yeah, no, it was only in theaters, and it made whatever money it made, and it wasn't a lot of money. So Disney has a service.
Are theaters open in Illinois?
Yes, at like 10% capacity.
I don't think they're open in Michigan at all, unless they're opening like this week, I think.
Yeah, no, they're open at 10% capacity, but we just had 5,000 cases on the 4th, so it's just like, I am not going to a movie theater. Yeah.
No, I was just more, like.
So I just want them to. Black Widow is what I'm here for, and I just don't see a world where they're going to release Black Widow not on Disney Plus as well, especially like. So, like, for $30, you get Mulan, and you have access to it until December 4th when Mulan just comes to Disney+. So, like, it's a 3-month rental.
So you're paying $10 a month to have
which I will probably not rewatch Mulan again, but if I liked it, it would be nice to, have access to it.
Yeah, but even as an example, though, it is what it is. Like, if you go to your mom and dad's house or whatever, and they want to watch it, at least you kind of like know you have it. And you just sign into your Disney Plus account and you just watch it.
And they allow 4 people to have access to your account simultaneously, so my sisters totally got the password when we rented Mulan, and they watched it.
Yeah. And like that's and I feel like they're getting they're getting a lot of money off of you purchasing a digital version of
it's
of the
pure
movie.
Profit for them.
More than sending it to the theater.
Which I think is like they split 60-40 with the theaters, so it's like it'd be stupid not to do this. That's it for me. I'm sure I'm forgetting stuff, but those are like the highlights for my week.
All right, we're going to move on to some questions really quick. So you can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can post them in Discord in the Ask Digital Days specific channel. Or you can always comment then on the Facebook post that Michael puts up, day or two or an hour before we record. So Gus sends us a little bit of a long one here. We didn't really talk about this, but we did see this news come this week, so it kind of ties together well. So what do you guys think of the ever-increasing probability of it costing $1,000 to get into PS5 or Xbox Series X at release? All hints and rumors are pointing to a $600 release price for the basic models. Add 2 games, that's another $140. Want an extra controller, that's another $80 to $100. God, I hope not.
It's gonna be.
Don't forget to throw in PS Plus or Xbox Live Gold for another $60 if you don't already have it. But I feel like in my case, like I have it. And add on sales tax and everything. Need a headset too. In my case, I have Astro A40s. The PS5 doesn't have an optical in, so I need a new headset. Astro was reportedly releasing an optical to USB dongle, but good luck finding that at release. With the lack of release titles, I am feeling less and less motivated and see no reason to purchase one of these consoles at release. So yeah, that was Astro released or showed off the new A40s that are going to work with the next gen consoles, and one of the things that everybody noticed is that there's no optical support because there's no optical support on optical port on a PS5, which leads to the possibility of another dongle.
It does. They will release a dongle for the old headsets to work.
Yeah. And then, like I know a lot of people are like fully invested in that and seeing some of that stuff. I do know, like as an example, like these, like the Turtle Beaches that I'm still working through, that I did the unboxing for. They have a USB dongle to them, so they're wireless and they've already confirmed that they'll work on PS5. And then we obviously know it has a headset jack, so that and I would assume that this is probably going to come with some kind of. It might not be the greatest thing, but like that PS4 earbud wasn't terrible.
It was
that came with the control. No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
It was the
terrible.
most uncomfortable piece of plastic in the world. That was terrible.
But in terms of the microphone quality that you got from hearing somebody else using it, it wasn't terrible. An iPhone headset is the worst thing to plug into a PS4 ever. Because it builds that interference.
Yeah, I guess a crumb when you're hungry is better than no food at all.
But yeah, like there's again, being essentially less than 90 days from launch and the amount of unknown that we have, I'm not going to go down that road again and beat that horse anymore. They do need to start figuring some things out. They do need to start answering some of these questions because, at least from the PlayStation standpoint, to find out what's compatible or what's not compatible or what's going to work or what's not going to work or what kind of like special adapter you're going to need. I'm right off the bat, no optical port. I'm already worried about it from a streaming standpoint. Mm-hmm. Because I use an optical port to stream through my mixer, so like I don't, I have a USB sound card, so I'm sure I can use some of that to help with other aspects. Yeah. But there's definitely like some concern there. But yeah, I don't think they're going to cost $600. I think there might be a version that costs $600.
I think the fight is between $400 and $500, and that's what the chicken is like. The game of chicken between Microsoft and Xbox is who's going to release the $400 console, who's going to release the $500 console. Basically what happened last gen.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it does appear that depending on how many games you want. But I think in order to make a truly educated guess on this, I need to see like what they need to date the console so that these other games can be dated.
Yeah, they
like that's what I'm waiting for at this point in time to decide, and we'll tie it into the next question because I think this will just be a conversation in general as part of this question. So Andrew goes, if you guys didn't have the podcast, would you be interested in getting a next gen console at launch? I'll get a PS5 at some point, but the lack of communication, price, launch date, and availability has convinced me that even if I could get one, I don't know that I could afford it. It's too hard to budget for a non-existent price. So if we didn't have the podcast, would we be buying this console?
No.
That would for me that would depend on what's coming out at launch.
From what we know that's already announced right now, would you get one? Though is the question. Like right now, knowing that the only two games that we can top of my head I can think of is Godfall and Miles Morales, would you be getting a PS5 at launch?
To play, okay, this is gonna sound terrible when I say this, but just because like I do have a built-in function around this to play Destiny with better load times and better frame rate. Yes,
$500. You would
because
you have it on PC
because of the. But my friends aren't on PC.
Okay, and there's not crossplay yet with PC.
No.
Okay.
No.
There is crossplay coming.
So. Allegedly, okay. But there's cross-generation play coming. Yeah. PS4 can play with PS5, so like that's a factor for me. You know, and then the other things, if it is Ratchet and Clank, you know, like I said, like that's a percentage factor for me is Destiny, playing Destiny better, and then also playing these other games that look interesting to me right now. Watch Dogs, playing it better. You know, like could I buy Watch Dogs on PC? Yeah, probably. But you can just looking at all of the factors of what could possibly look better or play better or load better is enough to sway me, along with the hopeful of a launch title or something that coming out at launch that I want. That's the thing, though. Like am I going to spend $400 or $500 just to play Destiny? No. Is it going to be a factor of Ratchet and Clank and Miles Morales and something else? Like, maybe.
Yeah, for me, like, I'm doing it because, you know, I want it for the podcast and I like new technology. But if we weren't doing the podcast, I probably would just wait a couple months until, like, March when more games would come out. Just because so far of the games that were announced, like, I guess I'll get the PS5 version of Cyberpunk since it'll come out within, like, a week of that console because it's coming out in November. But, like, other than that, like, you know, Avengers I think there's a free upgrade to it, or they're just going to use backwards compatibility. But if I pick up Avengers before that, I'm not going to replay Avengers. And we don't know what their roadmap in terms of when those content characters are coming out, those extra characters. I just don't see, like, I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is, like, one of my all-time favorite games now. It's, like, definitely in my top 10. The Miles Morales stuff being like a 10-hour campaign, I don't know if I want to drop the money for that. And I already know I'm not getting Godfall. You know?
Yeah, it's such a hard question to answer right now because of all the stuff that we've been complaining about for months. Without knowing the date, it means that the other games can't be dated. Because like they can't say like Ratchet and Clank's coming out this day or Miles Morales is coming out this day because people will figure it out. I mean, we already think that we're figuring out the launch date based on what Call of Duty's doing. So like there's already speculation built around that. So like that's what's happening, and then so there's so many factors though. Like okay, so without the date or without the price, you can't, you know, you don't have the date because that means you'd have if you had the price and the date, you'd have pre-orders, and then you'd also have launch window of games, and you'd also have these other companies finally coming out and saying whether their game is going to work or not on next gen or whether it's going to cost an upgrade.
Yeah.
So the right now it's the tipping point is the date.
Well, for me, like, I already know Ratchet & Clank is going to be on launch because they said launch window. I feel like if they would have said, like, it'll be a launch game, then that would change the discussion. But because they're like...
They haven't said anything's going to be a launch game, though.
Except Spider-Man and Godfall. Those are the only ones that they said.
Did they just say holiday?
No, they believe they said launch for that. So those are, in my mind, the only two there. Like, release date-wise, I already know it's 6th, 13th, or 20th. Like, those are the 3 dates. So that might as well... I know the target for that, and, like, I'm just not seeing anything that I need, especially with a lot of those games, you know, like the new Call of Duty. I'm I could play that on my Pro. Cyberpunk can play that on my Pro. Avengers could play that on my Pro. Watch Dogs could play that on my Pro. Like, all these games I already have that I have access to.
Well, and I also don't have a Pro.
Yeah, you are playing on the older one, though I don't think you care that much about, like, the upgrades from that to that.
No.
But you'll get at least a leap from 4 to 5, more than I would.
Yeah.
Or at least at launch.
I'm just waiting one day to turn my PlayStation on and it just not work, because this is still a launch day PlayStation 4.
Yeah, you hopefully have cloud backups going for your Avengers. I'm just not, like, I feel like Sony and Xbox have just made me less and less excited the longer they've dragged this shit on. Like, every time we hear something new, like, no optical drive, you need this dongle, you need that dongle, I'm, like, less and less excited for this new console that I know I'm going to get day one, but, like, because I tricked myself into saying I have to get it day one. You know, like, I justified in my head already, like, no, for the podcast, I need to get it day one.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same reason, like, I'll buy Avengers because there's a new game out and I want to talk about it,
Yes.
and I'm actually enjoying it. So there's, like, that aspect of it where it's like, like, if I think about, like, spending $20 or $30 on this and kind of put it towards the content on the podcast and streams, and then it's really only costing me like $20 or $30 to buy the game for my own self, like, you know, and even down up Destiny and chat rates where you can trade the PS4 to get reduced costs. Like, well, not if I buy a discless PS5.
Yeah, then your backwards compatibility is gone. That same justification is why I'm going to buy the shitty WWE Battlegrounds next week. You know, it's just like, in my head, I'm just like, okay, content can be made from this. But if I didn't have that excuse, like, I would probably just wait on a PS5. Probably not a long time or a long wait.
Yeah.
It would probably be like getting it on launch day, or getting it like closer to Christmas or January after the holidays.
Yeah, I think if I was in that situation, like, if like, that's remove digital days from the aspect, and I would probably, if people like asked what I wanted for Christmas, I'm like, can you just get me like an Amazon gift card or give me some Best Buy gift cards, and then I would just, whatever I got,
Cobble
like, I would just look at that as an offset. Yeah, and just like, oh, I got you know, $120 in gift cards, so this is going to cost me $120 less. And,
Yeah.
you know, like that's similar things that I've done for other things that I've really wanted. You know, just to kind of like offset it a little bit. Like, I don't, you know, I may or may not get, you know, trade some stuff or sell a couple things or dig in my garage and find, you know, like a couple things that I could sell for like $30 or $40 on the marketplace or something. And I'd figure out a way, I think, just to push through it. Fortunately for us, like we've talked about, like the support you guys have given us on Twitch and Patreon and everything, should help us a lot to soften it. Not if this thing costs $600.
No. But at least, you know, we can justify it to our significant others. Like, hey, like, we're being helped out a little bit on this. I need to know the specific day just so I can take the time off, so I can take like the day before, the day of, and like the day after off from work. Just so I can sit on my front porch and wait for the delivery man so that shit doesn't get stolen. Because, oh my god, package theft is not a joke in Chicago. And launch day for a console is like kind of crazy.
Thieves know what that size box looks
exactly.
like.
So I'm just gonna, that day, I don't care if it's 0 degrees out, which is very possible in Chicago in November, I will be sitting on my front porch.
Well, fortunately, at least for us, like, I don't know if yours is the same way. Like, if you get it from Amazon, like, I get the notification, your package is 10 stops away.
I get that unless they give it to the post office. And the post office is going to be busy with the election, you know, earlier that month. So I just need to know. I already have an idea of what 3 days it's going to be, and I don't want to use like my PTO and guess the 3 spots ahead of time and then just burn through my hours.
Yeah, it's getting to the point where they need to do, like, it's September. Like this is nuts. Yeah. Like,
and you put up that chart on our Facebook group of just I think the shortest window was like 4 months from that.
And we're already under that. Yeah. Like,
you know, 4 months since console like release date was revealed, and that we're 2 months away. It's kind of crazy.
Gus brings up a good point that we didn't really talk about, and I forgot to add this. Did you see the RTX reveal this week, or did you see some of the rumblings from that? I did see
some of that stuff.
That graphics card, the 360,
3080, I believe. 3080, 3090.
No, I mean, one of them's $1,500 for a GPU. Yeah. One of them is like a step down, is like $800 or $900. And then like the 3060 is like $500. and that's
3070
already cheaper than the 3070. That's already cheaper than the 2080 Ti, and it's allegedly to do double the performance.
Oh yeah, that's it's like totally crazy how like affordable that is, but you still have to build a computer around that. So
right, but that's an Xbox.
Yes, yeah.
Like getting
more
getting the
powerful
3070
than an Xbox. Like
is more powerful than a Series X.
Yes. So it's definitely something to look at. Though honestly, so like my coworkers are all like tech crazy people, so they're already like, okay, as soon as the pre-orders drop, they're getting it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, my 1070 does 60 frames 1080p, and that's all I fucking need. Like
the thing that I'm most interested about is like how much is the 2080 going to go down to when these come out?
Or are they just going to discontinue it? But they're going to have to burn through them if there's that even.
Because I think I have like a 970, so like me upgrading something like a couple $100 like post Christmas like would not be a bad.
And I'm just going to rock my 1060 until it can't run anything anymore, because as long as games can still run 1080 60 on it, I can rock this card for a while.
If I can get 1080p 60 frames, like I'm fine.
Yeah, because right now you're working like between 720 and 1080, right, with your 970.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, like people were like, oh, like in like the stuff that I saw this week where people were like, oh, this is going to be the closest bridge between console gaming and PC gaming, and then RTX is like, hold my beer.
Oh yeah, they always do that. They always. Anytime people get excited about consoles, they're ready to bust out the latest graphics card. And this is the first time they've been like, or at least I feel like they've been very aggressive with their pricing for this, to where it's like definitely a possibility.
I mean, for them to release their low tier graphics card next month and say it's already double the performance of their highest tier graphics card and it's cheaper, like that's crazy to me. Yeah.
It definitely made me like look at my PC specs of like, could my board handle this card?
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, bad. Yeah, I agree. You're not rich, but you're also the same person that's been saying in chat for the last month, day one, buying a PS5 to play what?
Yeah.
So it's like, so Bad 76 right in chat. Like, yeah, I'm not saying that you need to be rich. I'm just saying that's a factor. If a console costs $600 and we're already looking at performance mode for some of the games like Ratchet and Clank 1080p 60 frames or even 1080p 30 frames, if we're already looking at performance mode for some of this stuff, spending, and a console is going to cost $600 and it's going to only work at this. It's going to have this benchmark, and maybe you can spend $800, $1,000, $1,100 on a PC that can play stuff at such a higher resolution.
But it won't play Ratchet and Clank. And that is all like Bad 76 would need potentially, to justify getting the PlayStation. Like, but I see your point. But for third-party games, like, it's definitely one of those things. If all you care about are the Call of Duties, like the big mainstream tentpole third-party games, the graphics cards are at a price that it's like you have to think about it.
If you're a Madden, Call of Duty, 2K player, and maybe you don't have a huge, and you play a lot of the games like single player or things like that, or you're not into the Ratchet and Clanks and the Uncharted's and the Last of Us and the Halos, like a PC is 100% the way to go, because you can just hook these things up to televisions now and you can't even tell the difference.
Yeah, get a Steam Link if you can still find one on eBay and stream it to your your TV if you want.
Most graphic cards come with an HDMI port now.
No, but I'm saying like some people can't have like a tower next to their TV. Yeah. Might not be the most thing, but like Steam Link works enough, and there's different solutions for you to work around that. Or just, if you got a house, just fucking run a HDMI cable from your office to your TV through the wall. Go crazy. Like, if I had a house, I would definitely do that.
It's a huge, interesting factor of, and then, obviously, again, playing on PC, like we've talked about for months, like just picking up Game Pass. Like, so all of a sudden you get a PC, and then like right now, with the way that, Microsoft has delved into the world of PC gaming, like they have, it all comes down to how important is Miles Morales and Ratchet and Clank to you currently, and Horizon 2. Those are the things that we know that you can only play on PS5. Everything else you can play on a mid-tier PC. My PC right now can play any game that I want it to play, with the exception of maybe I might struggle to play some of the EA games like Battlefield 5.
Yeah. But even then, you can probably get a good 720p experience, like if you want.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the people that are going to have to really make the decision are the Xbox fans, because of what Game Pass has done. I think PlayStation fans, you're not going to win too many over to get them to switch over to PC. But the Xbox fans, they're the ones that are definitely going to be the ones that should consider just going the PC route, because they will get their exclusive games on there, and then they can get something more powerful for not that much more of an investment, depending on how much the Series X comes out. But yeah, it's definitely NVIDIA is not messing around with their new graphics cards.
Yeah, and again, like I've started to learn, like as I've been paying attention and seeing more stuff, like PC gaming is not as big of a gate, like a hurdle as everybody was kind of like portraying it out to be. Yes, there's some challenges. Like yes, I've pretty much everything I've been reading the last couple of months is like you maybe don't want to go a pre-built route. Like you should maybe take the time to build it, just because you have so much more control over it. And I've been fortunate that I have a couple friends that I can bounce ideas off of, and I have a local friend that actually loves to tinker with the stuff that I just throw him a couple bucks, and he, dealt with all that stuff. And what the case that I currently have right now, like changing the motherboard is a possibility, and like getting a graphics card, like if the 2080 Ti drops down to 350 and I need to get a new motherboard for $100, like, and all of a sudden I have an Xbox Series X and a gaming PC in one box, that I can actually play games at a higher resolution and a higher frame rate than the Series X can give me for less than what the Series X is going to cost. That's a huge contributing factor.
Yes, for sure. So, that's all we have for questions this week. Kept it kind of light, but I'm sure we'll get more questions in once we get those goddamn release date and prices.
Spotlights really quick. I mean, for me, it's going to be what you guys are going to see on the podcast feed and YouTube on Thursday. So please check that out. Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be live. And I'll be, trying to answer some of the questions and stuff that you guys may or may not have for that. I don't know. Do you have anything, Michael? Like,
no, just
what you're going to try to stream this week?
Probably more Tony Hawk streams this week. Probably going to be a lot of Tony Hawk over the next 2-3 weeks until I find something else. But just give us a review on iTunes if you can. iTunes reviews help us out so much. So drop us a 5-star on iTunes with some written word. That'll help. And then the YouTube subscriptions, we're trying to bolster that. I'm trying to get the shows up to YouTube more timely. I have to put up the new last week's episode still on YouTube, but still trying to find out the perfect balance for that. So our YouTube and iTunes reviews are what I would want to spotlight.
All right. And then social media, you can follow the main show at Digital Days Pod. You can follow Michael at First MJC. You can follow myself at Good Dave Hunt. Please join the Facebook group. Have some fun conversations in there. It's a little quiet over the holiday weekend, but for the most part, there's usually some pretty lively conversations in there. Feel free to share trailers in there, to share news in there. Always kind of starts the conversation. So when I put the Mario thing in there, I was like, oh, I guess we were wrong.
Yeah.
So, and then our Discord channel, you can join that as well. Link is in the show notes. And again, within the Discord channel, there's a private channel for Patreon supporters. So that you don't have to be a Patreon supporter to just be in the Discord. The Discord's for everyone. There are some people that are in the Discord that are very active in the Discord. Some of them don't like Facebook. So, if you're willing to have both, please, you're more than welcome in all of our social channels. And again, Patreon, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming. $1 is the tip jar, which essentially pays for 1 month of podcast hosting for us. $3 gets you the Discord access. Like we just talked about, the private Discord access. You also get that if you're a Twitch subscriber. So you just have to make sure that your Twitch account and your Discord account are linked, and it'll automatically, our Patreon bot, our supporter bot, gets you access to that channel. For that, $5 gets you the podcast 24 hours early, so you'll get it on Wednesday at 6 a.m. instead of Thursday at 6 a.m. And $7 gets you the monthly bonus episode, which we will be recording September's episode within the next 5 to 7 days. So we'll be posting that. Again, if you have any ideas for topics for our shows, for our bonus episodes, please feel free to send those. You can send them to Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. Just feel free to kind of drop those ideas in there randomly or whenever you think about them. So, Other than that, I think that is it. So I plan to see how things are going this week and stream some more Avengers, see if I can get to some of the post-campaign stuff. So if you have Avengers and you're not friends with me on PSN, please go ahead and friend request me. If you get done with the campaign, let me know, and I'll let you guys know when I'm done with the campaign, and we can start grouping up to figure out whatever this end game content, post-campaign content will be. So that'll be kind of holding my attention for a little while, especially with Beyond Light being Destiny 2's being delayed until November. So that's kind of what's going on. So I don't know, you got anything else?
No, just gonna hit the Twitch streams hard, hopefully over the next month, and take advantage of September. I said it right this time.
Yeah. So and again, just check it out. Like, just make sure your subscription, if you're somebody that supported us in the past and you want to keep supporting us, your subscription doesn't auto renew on Twitch. So if you guys could just check that. Like I said, even when we're streaming, if you just pop in to say hi, chat us up for 2 or 3 minutes and then dip out, like, that's totally fine. If you can leave it open on your phone, and while you're watching TV and you see us go live, just set it on your phone and set it down. If you don't, just so we have a viewer.
Throw my
emote.
cat emote.
To think people are watching.
Throw my cat Reggie's emote that is on our channel in there.
So, trying to get our average viewer count up. Like, there's a number that we need to hit that we're never going to hit. And so if getting us a little bit closer to it each time helps. And again, I like we talked about, sharing the show, sharing our social links, all that stuff is always huge, always appreciated. Leaving the reviews is great. I know Johnny's left a review recently. A couple other people left some reviews. The latest review we got, I laughed at because they're a St. Louis Cardinals fan and they don't like the White Sox, so they subject the review "White Sox equals sucks." And then he gave us 5 stars. So feel free to give us 5 stars and make fun of either one of us. Like, we're totally great with that as long as we get the 5 stars. If you give us 1 star and make fun of us, we might have to have a conversation.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I hope everyone has a great week and keep moving forward.
See ya.